welcome to the first in this series of videos showing you around OnShape, which is this wonderful CAD modeling program which is actually run out of web browser, so you can use it from any computer, don't have to download anything, and it's all stored to the cloud so you can access it from any computer as well. Today we're going to be making a die in two parts, so we're going to make a six-sided die, but the side of the one is actually going to be detachable, just so I can show you some cool tricks as I walk you through everything. If you've used this program before or other CAD modeling programs, this may be a little bit slow-paced for you, but bear with me. We are just getting started, and a lot of people have not touched any sort of CAD software before, and this is a good one to start on, as it's very usable for anybody with any sort of computer. So we're going to go ahead and get started, but bear with me. I'm going to take it slow, walk you through my steps, and towards the end go a little bit faster, and don't be afraid to pause at any point, rewind, see what I am doing, because that's the most important part of this video, is sort of understanding what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and I'll walk you through that as we go. But let's go ahead and jump in. So a little introduction about myself. My name is Ethan Rashap. I work for Central CNM as a subject specialist with CAD programming, which, if you don't know, CAD, C-A-D, is computer aided design. And so I work specialize in a few different programs that use CAD, and I'm making this series of videos to help people learn how to do it. So when you open up OnShape, you will be greeted with a screen that looks like this. I have a separate folder for my other projects, but you'll be open to a screen like this. It'll say no documents or anything. So to get started, we're going to come over here to create, click on this, and click on document. So it's going to say document name. For the purpose of this, I'll put D6, sides 2 through 6, as this is going to be the first part we make. And it's going to open this wonderful window for us. And as you can see, we have our three main planes. So we have our top plane, front plane, right plane. And this is what we're going to basically build off of all the time. There's a few exceptions to this, which I will show you. But overall, these are the main planes that we want to work off of. Here in this right hand corner, we have a little cube here. And the cool thing about this cube, as you can see, it's three-dimensional. CAD design is three-dimensional. As you can see, we have front, right, top on here, which is actually really cool, because if you click on the top here, it'll take you right to the top. And you can go down, you can move around with this. You can see it'll rotate it. Another thing you can do, if you hold down your right click on your mouse and just move your mouse around, it'll also rotate that for you. And of course, if you want to zoom in or out, you can use your scroll wheel in, out, and then if you hold down left click, you're going to be able to select, which we don't need right now. If you press down on your scroll wheel, actually, which is mouse 3, if you didn't know that, if you press down on that scroll wheel, it'll let you just move around in a two-dimensional plane here. And so that's sort of the important part. If you really need to move around like this, that's great, but try and get comfortable. This program's sort of fast with how it moves if you hold down right click, but it works. And you'll see me sort of come around and look at things from different angles. And so yeah, so that's sort of the basics for this right now. As you can see, we're oriented in an XYZ axis, which is good to keep in mind as we're designing, so we can know our up and down, all that stuff. So yeah, so this is a very helpful tool. I'll be using this a lot, more so than the right click and hold. I'll probably be using this a little bit more often this video, and then later videos I will transition to doing it a little bit faster with that right click. So just get comfortable with that. I know it can be a little bit hard, and this sort of moves fast, where you can get this oriented really fast. As you can see, it's sort of moving around sort of fast. But yeah, so up here at the top of our bar, we have Sketch, which is going to be how we do all of our drawings. As you can see, I recommend you actually hover over each of these. It'll tell you what they are. Most of them are just names, but Sketch here you can see gives you an actual definition. And so we're going to make sketches in CAD, and then we're going to make bodies out of it using these tools. So we have extrude, revolve, sweep, loft, thicken. We have all this stuff, and then we have some other features here. So don't worry, we won't use all of these today, but we will get to them eventually. Another feature I want to point out here is this bar here on the left side under features. So this is going to be a little like sort of like a list of everything you've done. So you'll see as we go on, I'll point it out, but every step you make will be right under these. These are the planes, as you can see. But everything we make from here, all the sketches, all the bodies, will list under here. And so it's a good way to keep track of your work. You can go back, you can move this bar around. Once I get more, I'll show you how you can move that bar around. You can also search for stuff, so that is pretty helpful. Parts will appear down here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this. So we're just gonna make a simple 6-sided die today. As I said, we're gonna have that side with the 1 on it detachable. So for that, we're just gonna make sort of a hollow cube missing one of its sides. So let's go ahead and get started. For purposes of this, you're gonna come up to Sketch, click on Sketch, and it's gonna have this box pop up so you know you're in Sketch. And it's gonna highlight this sketch plane. It's in blue. It wants you to select the sketch plane. And these are our 3 main planes right now, so we're gonna use these. I'm gonna select the top plane here. And so as you can see, that's selected. We could change that if we wanted. And I'm actually going to come over here, click this little eyeball for these other 2, and it's gonna hide those planes. And now, just to make it ease of view, I'm gonna click on the top here, on this cube on the side. And as you can see, it's gonna bring us right down on top of that plane. So now I'm gonna come up here to our corner rectangle. I'm going to click this little drop down menu. As you can see, most of these have drop down menus next to them, and it's for slightly different variations. So this first one's a corner rectangle, but I want to use a center point rectangle. So I'm going to grab that center point rectangle. It's blue, so you can see that it is actually selected. And I'm going to click on this little origin point right here and just drag this out, left click again, and there we go. That's our first little square there. I'm actually going to turn off this top plane too, because that's sort of just going to get in our way. So now we have this top little plane. Hit escape to get out of that rectangle here. So as you can see, I'm in it. If I hit the escape key, I'm out. Just so if I was in here, try and click around, it would just keep making rectangles, which I do not want. So now I'm going to come up here to this little dimensioning tool. As you can see also, they have these little shortcuts. Those things, the key in the parentheses, if you hit D, it'll put you into that dimensioning over here. If you do R, circle should be C. There we go. You can do that as well, but I'm not going to be doing that so you guys don't get confused. I'm going to hit this dimensioning. I'm just going to hit this side. You can see as I pass over it, it'll turn orange. And when it turns orange, it means that I can select it if I left click it. And as you can see, I'm going to drag out this little bar here and click again, and it's going to highlight this number. So this is going to be the dimensions of that side there. And so I'm going to make an actual size die. And so I want this to be 16 millimeters. As you can see, it really shrinks that down. And I'm going to also do this side, make this one 16 millimeters as well. And there we go. So the purposes of this is just sort of to square it off. You can of course dimension other ways, but this is how we're going to do it for right now. Just bear with me. And so that's going to be all we need for this first sketch. As you can see, I'm holding down right click and moving. So once you're done with that sketch, come up here, hit that check mark, and you can see we have a nice little rectangle. But we don't really just want a rectangle, we want a cube. So I'm going to come up here next to sketch, right to the right is this extrude button. I'm going to hit extrude, and it's going to ask for faces and sketch regions to extrude, which is going to be this one right here. So as you can see, as I go over, it's going to turn orange. I'm going to click on that. As you can see, it just pops it up. It's automatically 25 millimeters. We want to change this to 16 because we want a perfect cube. Hit OK there. It's also worth mentioning here, I keep putting millimeters. I can put just 16. It'll automatically do millimeters. I could do 16 inches, and it will do inches. But the default for this program is millimeters, so you can type just 16 or 16 millimeters. Either way, it'll get you your millimeters. You can use feet, inches, meters. I assume you can use higher. I don't know why you'd be doing kilometers or miles or anything like that. So anyways, this is good for right now. So I'm going to hit this check mark again, and there we go. We have our beautiful cube. So now what I want to do is I want to make this hollow. And these programs all have this cool feature called the shell feature. So if we come right up here is this little box. I'm going to click on this. If we let this expand, create a thin walled part by removing one or more faces, specify the wall thickness for the remaining faces. So this is going to do, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on this bottom face. This is the one I want to go away. And as you can see, it already is hollowing that out, which is exactly what we wanted. So now I'm going to shell this. If we come up here, I want this to be 1 millimeter. There we go. Nice and thin there. And hit that check mark. So there we go. So this is going to be the basis. For the other parts to connect, we have some clips on the other side, but we need a little lip in here for it to snap into. And so for that, I'm actually going to I need to make another plane to do it, because I don't want the lip here at the bottom. So for this, I'm going to come up here to this plane, click on this. It's going to ask for entities to offset from. I'm going to come in here, zoom in here, click this bottom piece here. Let's zoom out so we can look at this. I'm going to click this arrow to reverse it, and I am going to make this 2 millimeters. As you can see, this is now inside of our plane, which is perfect. It's what we want. Hit the check mark there, and I'm going to come over here to the bottom. And so to make this lip, what we're going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on plane 1. And I'm going to be using a rectangle. So let's make a center rectangle. And we're going to dimension this just like we did the other one. So 16. We need 16 minus 2, so 14. And 14 to fit this inside. There we go. And now we need another one inside, but instead of doing that over again, we can use this cool offset tool. So if we hit offset here, as you can see, it made it outside. If we hit this arrow, it's going to bring it inside, and we can change this to 1 millimeter. There we go. We have a perfect offset there. It's sort of hard to see, but if at this angle you can see it's inside. So that's that 2 millimeter offset that I made. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now I'm going to hit OK on that sketch, come over here to extrude, and I can just click on sketch 2 here on the side. And it's going to go the other way. I don't want that to. I want this to be 0.5. And it's going up, which is perfect. I'm going to hit that check mark there. And as you can see, we have this beautiful little lip here, which we'll be using later to attach everything. So now let's go ahead and put some numbers on this die. For this, all the die, the opposite sides add up to 7. So opposite of 1 needs to be 6, 3 needs to be 4, 2 needs to be 5. So let's go ahead and get started. On the 6 first, I'm going to sketch. I want it to be on this face, so I'm just going to click here. I'm going to go back here to the top, and so I just need to make some circles. So as you can see, if I line up, it's going to show me that I'm directly going in a vertical line away from that origin, horizontal, vertical. I'm just going to click here. As you can see, I misclicked there. I'm going to dimension this to be 2.5, and I'm going to dimension this from the center 3.5. There we go. And so now I could go sketch the other 5, but I'm going to show you some other tools on how to do this well. I'm going to first create some construction lines, so I'm just going to make a line here and make another one this way. So as you can see, these are real lines right now. They're intersecting with my sketches, but if I come on here and right click on here and come down to construction, this is no longer part of my sketch. It's just a reference line that I can use to dimension, build off of, all of that fun stuff. So for right now, we can sort of ignore these. I'll show you why we need them in a second. We're going to come up here to linear pattern, hit linear pattern. I want to linear pattern this. I don't want this to be 25. I want this to be 4.5. Bring that in. I don't want 3. I just want 2. There we go. As you can see, it just pulls it out. I can actually like move this if I wanted to and increase the number however much, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to make this 4.5 again. And there we go. I'm just going to click out of that, and there we go. Another cool thing, much like linear pattern, is this mirror function. So I'm going to click on here, and it's going to say select a mirrored line. I'm going to select this line right here and select entities to be mirrored. We want these 2 circles, and as you can see, they appear right there. And so I can just click and hit escape, and there we go. I'm going to move this out of the way. So there we go. We have those 2. We need 2 more over here. So just like with the same mirror, we're going to use this as the mirror line. Boom, boom. There we go. And as you can see, we have this beautiful 6-sided die, although we need these to go in, right? They are cut into the die. They're not just on the front, because you wouldn't be able to see these, especially if you print it out. So let's go ahead and hit extrude here. And as you can see that they're far up. We're going to want to do 0.5. And they're still pointing up. I want them to go down. As you can see, it has an issue here because it's trying to add stuff, but I'm going in, so it can't do that. It's trying to move. So I'm going to come over here, remove. As you can see, that issue clears up 0.5 millimeters. And I'm going to hit this check mark, and there we go. There is our first set of numbers on this die. So let's go ahead and move to the next one. As you can see, I have this plane down here, plane 1. I'm just going to click on this eyeball. Get rid of that. We don't need to be seeing that. And here's actually what I was talking about earlier. So as you can see, we have all our parts here. If I grab this bar and actually move it up here, it's going to reverse it back to that point. Your stuff doesn't go away. It's just going to reverse it so you can see it. There we go. See? We are back to how we were. Let's go ahead and make the 4 side next. So sketch this side, come in here to the right side, and I'm going to create a line all the way down here. Right click on that construction, and I'm going to also create a line and let's just make one more just to make this easier for ourselves. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a circle somewhere on this line. I'm going to dimension this 2.5, move this, I want this to be, now you can see I can sort of move it along this line here. I want this to be 4. Let's see if that would, yeah, 4 works. If you make it on the line like I did, so say I make the circle on here, it will only, sorry, Control Z, get that away. And dimension it. Obviously that's not working right now. I'll show you that in a second. So here we go, that's the first one. Let's actually make this into 3.5. No, that's too big. Let's do 3. That's good enough. So now we can do the same thing we sort of did before. Let's mirror this across this. Boom. Hit escape. There we go. We got 2 going so far. So now let's try and use that linear pattern again. I'm going to linear pattern these. I want this to be, let's see, 4, 4, 8. I want this to be 8 millimeters. Now you can see it sort of lines up there. We're actually going to get to go back this way. We're just going to create another line here. And we'll just mirror these across this line, boom, hit escape, come back here to extrude. It's going to have those selected already because it's a smart program, 0.5, switch to remove, down, hit OK, there we go. So we have 4 there, 6 there, we're going to need 3 on this left side. Feel free to pause and try and do the rest of these on your own and then catch up to me. But if you want and you're still having trouble with this, stick around. We'll have a good time here. Take it nice and slow. So I'm making that construction line across there. And I'm going to I'm actually going to make another construction line here, over to here, circle, circle, dimension this to be 3, I'm going to want this to be 3.5 because we're going to have to go, let's actually make that 4. There we go. So we're going to want this to go across this line here. So now let's make another one here at the center. I can make another one over here. 3, 3. We want this one from here to be the 4 as well. No, I did that from the side if you saw that. Delete that. Delete. There we go. Dimension from the center out to the side here. Make that 4. There we go. And there we go. So that one's centered. Those are all good. Let's extrude these. Move. 0.5. And hit OK there. So now we have our 3, our 4, our 6. So now all we need is our 2 and our 5. Let's do the 2 on this side. Go right to it. Create that diagonal there. I'm just going to sort of right click on here, construction. Now we can draw our circles. As you can see, that made that a construction circle too, so let's exit out of that. Do one there, one there. Let's make this 3.5. We want this to be a little bit bigger. Not too much, but. And let's dimension these from center to side. Dimension, center point to side. Let's make this 5. Center point to side, 5. There we go. Nice 2. Hit OK there. We can come over here and go to our move. 0.5. Hit OK. Awesome. So now all we're missing is our last side here, our 5. I'm going to come in here, do construction line 1, 2, we'll just do the mirrors this time just to get some more practice in with that. There we go. So let's go ahead and do this. Mention this. We want this to be 3. On the center here, we want this to be 3.5. And now we need to make one more in the middle. And now we can go ahead and just mirror everything. So let's mirror across here, hit escape, mirror again, this line, select these two, hit escape. Now let's come over here to our extrude, 0.5, remove, and hit OK there. So as you can see, I'm sort of looking at this. And part of this is sort of problem solving at the same time. I don't like how that 2 is uneven, so let's go back here to these 6. Let's double click on that back here. And let's change these back to 3. This is the great part about this software. We can just sort of change this whenever we want. And I want these to be a little bit closer now because they're a little bit far apart. So let's do 5.5. 5.5. There we go. And hit OK there. And it's going to go back because it's still using that extrude. So now let's actually go back to this this top sketch here. Because I want to change this too. These holes are looking a little bit small. So let's go ahead and edit these to be 3. And since all of these were referenced off of this one, changing this one to 3mm changes all of them. So I'm going to hit OK there. And there we go. So our cube right now is looking pretty good. Last thing we want to do, these edges are sharp. We don't want sharp edges on a cube. We want it to roll. We don't want it to hurt when we're holding it. So we're going to come up here to use the Fillet Tool. So I'm going to click on here. If I just hover over this for a second, create constant or variable edge, it's basically going around the edges. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to change, this is 1mm. It's going to ask for edges. I'm going to click all of these outside edges, including these bottom ones. Let's see. And this one. There we go. It's sort of hard to see now, but if we hit that check mark, we can see we have all rounded edges now. The next thing we want to do actually is I want to fillet these inside of these holes. So let's go through here. Let's click on this. I want to make this 0.125. We can just click on all of these holes. Side is here, hit that check mark, and as we can see, a little bit more rounded, a little bit more pleasing, a little bit nicer to use. So now, great thing about cloud saving is it saves automatically, so we don't have to worry about that at all. But we can come in back here. I'm gonna come back to document menu, and I'm gonna actually go back to C&M, and I'm gonna create a new document D6 S1 for my side 1. Hit OK there. And same thing, same as we did last time. We're going to start with the sketch on the top plane here. I'm going to go a little bit faster through this, just because you guys already know the basics. So I'm going to create a center point rectangle, pull that out, exit. This one is going to be 13.8 by 13.8. Perfect size right there. Hit OK for that. We're going to extrude this, and we only want this to go up 1.85. Perfect. There we go. And I'm going to hit the OK there. So now I actually want to bring back this front plane. As you can see, it sort of intersects perfectly there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch off of this front plane. We're going to make that front plane disappear. Front, it's going to zoom in here, but we're working like halfway through here. So we're going to make a little clip now. So I'm just going to start off with some lines. Front, come up here, just sort of make something perfect on the front there. That looks good. And so now we can just sort of come through and dimension everything that we want to. So these are the dimensions I've used, so just bear with me for this. This side, let's do this angle first. It's going to be 45. This distance right here is going to be 0.7. This here will be 0. From here to this edge is going to be 1 millimeter. We're going to need to constrain the rest of it first. We're going to come in here. We're going to do this distance here is going to be 0.3. Pull that in a little bit. This distance from here to here is also going to be 0.3. And we're going to make this last distance right here 0.15. So perfect, a perfect little clip here. And now we can come back here, change this to 1. It'll pull that to the edge exactly how we want it. And yeah, okay. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes. So that looks good here. We're going to extrude this now. So come up here to extrude. We only want this to be out 0.125 millimeters on each side. So there's one side. We want to make this symmetric, so it's actually going to pull that into the middle, so we could do 0.25. And we can hit OK there. Perfect. So now, let's actually go back into the sketch for a second. I'm going to come down the front. I'm going to make a construction line from this origin going straight up. And we'll see why in a second. Just hit OK there. So now, similarly to how we did the pattern before with the linear pattern, we're actually going to use a circular pattern now. So we're going to come up here to this drop down. It says linear pattern. We're going to change this to circular. Click on circular. It's going to want entities to pattern. For this, we're going to choose extrude 2. Let's do axis to pattern first. We want to click on this line, entities to pattern, extrude 2. We need to change this to feature. There we go. Extrude. And as you can see, it pulls it around. We can also increase this number. If we did 5, it's going to evenly space these. We just want 4, so 1 on each side. 360 degrees. Edge of sketch 2. Hit OK there. And there we go. So those will slide perfectly into our base there. So now, last thing we got to do is make a little dot here. So sketch this face, bottom. We're going to come through here, circle, really easy. Mention this. Let's make this 3.5. Extrude this. Move. 0.25. 0.5. There we go. There we go. And lastly, we can fillet this edge right here. Hit 1.25. Hit OK there. And there we go. Nice and rounded. So now we have both parts of our cube of our dice. Alright, so now that we have our two parts, we can go ahead and put the two together. To do this, we can come in and on this bar at the bottom, hit this little insert new element, create assembly. So now from here, we're going to come into insert, and we're going to go to other documents. This is the one we are building off of. Other documents, we're going to take part 1 here. Just click anywhere, doesn't really matter. Come back to current, we're going to take our part 1, put this here, hit the check mark. So now we have our two parts, but we want them to go together so we can actually look at them. To do that, we're going to be using mates. Right now, there's a lot of mates. We'll go over some of the other ones later on. The important one right now is planar. I'm going to come in here, click the top here, so it selects that whole top. Look into this one, zoom in so it actually gets it, and I'm going to hit that check mark there, and as you can see, it slides in there. And so there we go. There's our die with that side inserted. It's sort of cool to be able to see this all put together. And there we go. So we made the two parts. We were able to put it together in this assembly here, so we could look at it. And we got to learn some of the tools. I hope you learned a lot, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.